Hi, I'm Louise Aubery, your host, and I'm glad to present you this new episode of the Lights on Women's Worth podcast by L'Oréal Paris. Enjoy! Good morning, Helen.
Good morning.
Welcome on the Lights on Women's Worth podcasts. I'm glad to welcome you on here.
Thank you.
So the first question I wanted to ask you is, do you remember the first time you've been under the spotlight?
Yes, I do. I do remember. I was about 5 years old at the time, and I was asked to play the Virgin Mary in my school. It didn't include any speaking. All I had to do was sit there in a beautiful blue veil and be the centre of the attention. And I loved every minute of it. So I do sort of remember that. But then also the whole concept of what acting really is, came to me later in life. And really that is nothing to do with sort of being in the spotlight.
Have you always been at ease with that light? Because I feel like young girls are raised, to avoid it and, to be maybe uncomfortable with it. Have you always been at ease with the light being on you?
No, not necessarily. And actually a lot of actors become actors because in a way they're shy in a way. They find being themselves quite difficult. So it's much easier to become someone else. And I think that was the case with me to a certain extent. I didn't want to sort of, prance around in the light, as you say. The closest we get to it now is what we're doing here, is the red carpet and all of that sort of thing. When I very first came to Cannes, for example, I was living in Place Contrescarpe, actually. I was doing the work, my theatre work, experimental theatre work in Paris. And it was as far from the glamour of Cannes as you can possibly imagine. But I had a film that was opening in Cannes and they asked me to come. And it was such a sort of incredible culture shock. And I remember that was the first time I'd experienced a sort of red carpet thing with cameras and everything. And I found it just the most terrifying experience. It was,
really?
Well, they say that the camera takes a piece of your soul, and certainly I felt like that. I felt as if my soul had been ripped to shreds by, all the cameras. Now I'm used to it, and I make myself enjoy it now.
I love that. So we are on the Lights on Women's Worth podcast, and it's an award that was created by L'Oréal Paris to put the lights on women, both in front of the screen and behind the screen. Why do you think cinema plays such a crucial role in empowering women?
Cinema plays a crucial role in, I don't want to use the word propaganda in the wrong way, but it is a reflection of our culture. It is a reflection of ourselves. It is also a way of opening the window into worlds that you're unaware of. So it's incredibly important as a reflection of your culture. And for many years, and especially when I was growing up, and indeed after I was grown up and into my 20s, into my 30s, maybe even into my 40s, the reflection that I saw on the screen of women was something I didn't recognize. It was the characters, the way they behaved, the way they spoke, I didn't recognize in myself at all. So it's now much more I'm seeing characters that I recognize, the way they behave, the way they feel, the way they react. And the reason for that was because everybody behind the camera was male. Everybody,
the male gaze.
From the writers of the scripts, through the producers, through the casting people, through the cinematographers, through the directors, everybody was male. When I used to walk onto a film set in my 20s, 30s, even into my 40s, out of 200 people on the set, maybe 2 would be female. And I said one day to a man, I said, every day of my life, my working life, I walk into an environment that is 99.9% male. Every day I have to negotiate that and handle it and, find my way through this particular kind of masculinity. I said, imagine if every day of your working life you walked into an environment which was 99% female.
A dream.
Maybe they thought, but they'd never thought of it. That was the interesting thing. He'd never thought of that. It hadn't occurred to him. And I think this was very much of that era. It didn't occur to them. They couldn't see it. We could see it, but they couldn't see it. So for me, it's, as I said when I walked in here, it's so great to be in a room full of women. And, that was very rare. It still is quite rare.
How was it for you to play such stereotypical roles, and how did you manage to change that?
I was very argumentative.
Love that, as you should.
Yes, I was very argumentative, and I was always fighting for my character, fighting to make the character more complex, more interesting. It's nothing to do with being strong, a strong woman. I hate that because that's a cliche. Mm-hmm. But to make a complex character that has, real humanity. And flaws, especially flaws, are very, very good, dramatically. But yes, I was argumentative.
I love that.
I lost a lot of jobs from being too argumentative.
Really?
Oh, yes. I go into a meeting and I'd say, this character would never say that. I think she should say this. And they'd say, we don't want her.
And do you feel like they listen to you more now?
Maybe, yes. I mean, I don't. It's not so imperative now, actually, because the female roles are much better written, much more complicated, much more real. There's still a few cliches out there, but it's changed so dramatically in the last 15 years, I would say.
Are there some cliches you still want to fight?
Of course, wherever there are cliches, whether it's in the story, the male character, the female character, it's too easy for the writer and the director to fall into a cliche. So wherever that raises its head, it requires, good art, great artists, writers, directors, actors, to really see beyond the obvious.
You've been a L'Oréal Paris ambassador for 10 years now. And I was wondering, how did your relationship with beauty and image change throughout the years?
Very interesting. I mean, I've always been a feminist, an argumentative, annoying feminist. But I always loved hair, makeup. I loved clothes, and I've always loved that side of being a woman. But as you grow older, and you do grow older, there's no
if you're
way,
lucky, yeah.
No way you can escape that fact. You have to grow up with your own body, your own face, the way it changes. And it's not always easy. It is not always easy, but it is inevitable. So, your relationship with the beauty that you see and your appreciation. And I appreciate enormously beautiful creatures, male or female. And here in Cannes, we see a lot of them. Just yesterday, I was walking into the hotel and this unbelievably beautiful girl walked out, going to the red carpet wearing what I call the lace and panties look, where you just you're wearing lace and panties, actually. You've got the look. And
that's the coincidence.
Yeah.
I was the girl, actually, yesterday.
But looking just so beautiful. You can only look at that and say that is beautiful. I mean, so I appreciate beauty. But your own relationship with yourself as you change, you have to learn to accept it and learn to deal with it. And thank God for mascara.
Panorama mascara is the best one, for sure.
Red lipstick and mascaras, or red lipstick and sunglasses, actually, that's the best.
That's your signature.
Yeah.
There is a quote from you that I love. You said, at every age, some things are lost, but others are gained. Why did you gain the most while aging?
Well, obviously, they do talk about wisdom, and it's not necessarily wisdom, because you don't feel any wiser at, 70 than you do at 20. Well, I guess you do feel wiser. Yes, you do. No, sorry, you do. But I think it's gaining knowledge. And obviously, as you travel through life and experience, inevitably you gain knowledge, inevitably. A knowledge about how people are, how the world is. You despair. And, now with the world the way that it is, you realize that things that you thought maybe were disappearing into history come back, and now it regurgitates itself. You appreciate change. So that's the world that I look forward to. Women have to come into government. They have to come into politics more than anything, I would say.
Are there some skills you still want to acquire? Because there is this cliche I want to fight as well that, at some point it's too late to learn a certain skill.
Oh, no, it's never too late to learn. No, absolutely. I would love to learn ice skating.
I love that.
I love ice skating. And I think I would be good at ice skating. Language. I'm trying to learn Italian now.
Yeah.
And no, it's certainly never too late to learn. And it's fun learning. I mean, I see the process of life being the process of learning, actually. Yeah. That's sort of what life
so do
is.
Yeah.
It's a continuous process of learning.
Yeah, and doing our best. It's not about winning or losing, but doing our best.
Absolutely, yes. And we're not all beautiful. We're not. Some of us are, and that's fantastic. And some of us are great scientists, and some of us are musicians, and some of us are linguists, and some of us are poets, and some of us are wonderful interviewers. And, we've all got
our
talents.
Skills. Yeah.
And I appreciate all of those things. I certainly appreciate beauty, but I also appreciate great talent in whatever field it is.
What would you be if you weren't an actress?
I always think I would be a hairdresser.
Really?
But we have the most brilliant hairdresser, Stefan, here in L'Oréal.
We can testify.
I would never be as good as he is. It's wonderful to be in the hands of a great artist.
Of course.
Like that. It's to appreciate that and
I was wondering, actually, because you have played such different characters. How do you manage to surrender to each role? Is there a process?
There is a process, but it's different with each role, according to the demands of the role. And sometimes the way in doesn't appear till the very last minute.
That must be stressful.
Yeah, a little, but I trust my instinct. I do. I've learnt to trust my instinct and not be too, not work it too hard, allow your instinct to work. I love doing the first read-through of a play or a film. I always jump in and I start acting immediately. I don't sort of mumble. I just, I do it. And very often your first instinct without thinking is the best, often.
And I've read that recently you decided to push yourself a bit further and try things that are more dangerous. What is the biggest risk you took lately?
Oh, goodness. Oh, I don't know the answer to that, quite honestly.
Maybe coming to Cannes.
Maybe coming to Cannes.
That's a risk.
That's a risk, yes. Yes. The riskiest thing I can remember doing recently was carrying a hot cup of tea and 6 books and a couple of other things and wearing high-heeled shoes and walking downstairs.
All right.
Like this, with a cup of tea and high-heeled shoes. And I remember going halfway down going, this is not a good idea, Helen.
We learn throughout our life. Can you confidently say today that you are worth it?
No. It's something I think we always struggle with. And I think that's what is so wonderful about that extraordinary phrase created by a woman. I love that fact. The longevity of it. The longevity of it means that it has something very deep and human in it. I don't know if it's just me, because we don't know. We can't live in anybody else's body, unfortunately. All we can do is live in ourselves and our own minds. But the the feelings of insecurity, the self-questioning, the self-doubt, just general feeling of fear. It has been with me always. And it's something I've always, fought and struggled and thought and found ways of overcoming. It's the overcoming it that's important.
For the young women who are watching us right now, what piece of advice would you give them to help them overcome those insecurities and gain confidence?
I think one of the biggest things is to remember that there are literally, and it's one of the great miracles of the world, of the universe, there is only one of you. There is only one of you. Are an absolute one of a kind. Your hair, your nails, your thighs that you hate, the way your mind works, the way your mouth works when you talk, everything. You are an absolute wonderful individual. You are one of a kind. So remember that and allow your one of a kindness to go forth into the world. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And you are worth it. Even though you cannot say it, I tell you. Yeah. I have a little surprise for you.
Oh, yes? Oh.
So I have 3 envelopes, and each one of these envelopes holds a memory of your life, of your career, and you get to pick one.
Oh, how lovely.
Which one do you want to choose?
I have to choose. Oh,
I don't want to influence you.
You don't want to. I'm going to take the one in the middle.
Let's go.
Let's go in the middle. Story of my life probably is choosing the middle road. Ah, yes. This is an Emmy, isn't it?
It is.
Yes,
it is.
Lovely.
Do you remember what you felt that day?
I don't remember because I've won so many Emmys.
This is iconic. I want a meme of that phrase.
Please don't put that on the internet.
That is iconic.
But there was one time at the Emmys. No, it was at the Golden Globes. It wasn't an Emmy. That I was nominated and I won for 2 roles, Queen Elizabeth I and Queen Elizabeth II. And I won, and I unfortunately had a glass of champagne, a terrible mistake. And I got in a complete muddle about which project I was talking about. But it's, it's a wonderful moment, this, in general, the beautiful clothes, that you're given to wear, the beautiful jewelry that I've got an amazing bracelet on there. It's a lovely, lovely moment without any doubt. The Emmy is quite dangerous because it's got these spiky bits. Can you see these little, very spiky little wings?
So you got to earn it.
You could easily kill someone with an Emmy.
I love that.
People get injured, because someone's turning around quickly, holding their Emmy, and these things scratch people. Sorry.
It's to make sure no one is stealing it from you.
Yes, exactly.
I think that is.
Yes.
But I was wondering, do you feel really the pride when you get that award? Because I think we are all driven by our goals and maybe, the rewards in a way we can get. And I feel like when we actually get it, it's never like how we pictured it.
No, I mean, in my world, in my work, it's not like being an athlete. With an athlete, a runner, they run faster than anybody else and they win. And that's very clear. In our world of art, it's a much more cloudy picture.
It's subjective.
Really. And so we of course, our moment holding our prize is a lovely moment, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, at the back of your mind, you're thinking, this is not really what my work is about. And we actors all understand it. We applaud each other winning, and we stand very proudly with our award. But all of us really know that that's not really how it works in our world. It's not something you ever win. You don't. But of course, it's great for your project. It's great for marketing. It's great for
highlighting women.
Yes, and of course, absolutely. And what I want to see is this person standing here with this award, but she is a director and not an actress.
We will tonight.
Yes, we will tonight.
I have a last question for you, Helen. As we are on the Lights on Women's Worth podcast, what do you want to shed the light on?
Oh, I want to shed the light on a terrible situation in southern Italy, where the olive trees of southern Italy are dying from a very, very bad virus, and millions of trees have been lost. And in the losing of those trees, we are losing trees that are 800-900 years old. Very, very ancient trees that were almost from the time of Caesar. Monumental, they're called the monumental trees in southern Italy. And this terrible disease has been moving up the Pulian promontory, and it's halfway up now, and millions of trees have been lost. So I want to draw attention to that tragedy that's happening, and for us to find the money to graft the old trees, to save the old trees, because I feel we have to save these beautiful, monumental old trees. If we lose them, it's like losing the Colosseo in Rome. It's like losing Venice. It's like losing, the Arc de Triomphe or the Eiffel Tower in Paris. It's patrimony and a part of our human history. And I feel we have to save those trees.
Well, thank you for using your voice for a change.
Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. It was a
you.
pleasure discussing with you.
Thank you very much.